You're listening to Liberty USA, sponsored by County Citizens Defending Freedom. As an American, you have freedom flowing through your DNA, and we are here to help educate, empower, and encourage you to stand for your freedom.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Liberty USA, CCDF's podcast. We're here today. We've got the AEDs, some of the first AEDs that were stood up. Florida and Texas would be me. My name's Colby Wiltse. I'm from Nueces County. And so why don't we just go around the horn and introduce ourselves real quick and what county we represent.
Sure. So I'm Alex Serrano. I'm with Miami-Dade County, Florida.
And I'm Lee Carden. I'm with Hillsborough County, Florida.
And I'm Hannah Petersen with Polk County, Florida.
Awesome. So today, I think the goal of today is really just to share our story, how we got here, how we felt called to do this, and just really unpack that a little bit for our listeners. I'll go first. Again,
who said you get to go first?
Oh, we can do ladies first. Don't bother me.
Technically, Hannah got stood up first.
Hannah's
Yeah, you know what?
Hannah,
Hannah,
no, this is too much
now that
pressure.
she spoke up.
You're going to go first.
No,
you stood up. Let's go in order as we were stood up. Okay, you go first, Hannah.
Okay.
Which is what she wanted anyway.
Oh, maybe.
Really?
My story's not as good as y'all's, so, it's better if I lead.
No, they're all good. Every story is great.
Well, about a year ago exactly. Well, first, let me just backtrack a little bit. I've never been engaged in politics. I have actually actively tried to avoid the subject. My husband loves to watch the news and be very involved and up to speed on world issues, and as well as my dad. And so they have a lot of conversations, and I'm always just like depressed, go in the other room. And I think that I realize that the reason it bothers me so much is because it's so overwhelming, and I'm the kind of person, I like to fix things. I like to, if there's a problem, I want a solution. I want to come up with a solution. And if there's no possible solution, then I'm overwhelmed and I just need to bury my head in the sand. So whether it's probably not the best quality to have, but that's how I've been. But everything changed last year when the mask mandate was happening within our public school system, and our kids were forced to wear masks. And it just felt like such a severe overreach into my parenting and what I want for my kids and what we stand for as a family. And the stories, hearing them come home and their masks were always so filthy, and I just was thinking, this is wrong. Like, why who in their right mind thinks it's right for elementary kids to wear a mask on their face and with the germs and all the things and dropping them on the floor? And so that was kind of the first red flag I had. But the story got a little bit worse when I went up to my son's school to bring him some medicine, and you guys have heard this, so I'll just make it brief. But I saw the kids outside. It was over 90 degrees that day, all during PE, wearing masks, and I was hot and suffocating in the Florida heat, just getting out of my car, and it really infuriated me to see that. So I had a conversation with my son, and when he got home and was talking to him about it, and he goes on to tell me that there's been times he's taken his mask off and he's gotten yelled at through the megaphone by his PE coach to put his mask back up when he's just trying to get some air. He's been forced to run more laps because he wasn't wearing his mask. And so that ignited something in me. And the only thing I could think to do was to get the power of the people somehow. I went to the school board first, charter school board, didn't get a response. And so, again, I started a Facebook page, and a lot of people joined that page, and we started to rally. We started to, email and basically just unite as parents and grandparents and citizens and say, we don't want our kids in masks anymore. And one thing just very quickly led to another. Jeff Childers was on that page, and so him and I were having conversations about lawsuits and what we could do. And I got connected with CCDF, and they were just starting, and it was really still in its conception at that time. And all of us just decided, I've got this issue, and I've got this decent amount of local following. You've got this structure and this amazing concept and idea on how we can fix so many other issues, not just focused on education. So let's come together and build this. And so that's my story. And we've been working together here out of headquarters, writing the business, the standard operating procedures, and the developing the divisions, and using Polk County as the model, so that we can then take that model and pass it on to other counties that we're focused on. So that's my
awesome.
story.
Yeah. I think for me, it's kind of twofold. So my background's oil and gas. I worked in that industry for roughly 10 years. As you may or may not know, that job is highly demanding.
Were you in like sales or what?
I started out as a district engineer for a coiled tubing company, and then as I through the downturns and other things, you take on other responsibilities. So that's what would happen. So it led to me going into DOT, which is the Department of Transportation, making sure all of our equipment had its registrations and all that stuff. But then I started getting into safety. I started getting into management. So I started wearing multiple hats, and not to go into too much detail about that, but what happened in my life personally was I started putting my career before my relationship with God and before my family. So my whole structure was upside down, and it was causing problems in my marriage. Started having kids, and I just realized very quickly at some point, like, I've got to make a change because I need to be there for my son. And now I've got 2 boys, and so that was part of my prayer to the Lord at that time was, God, I've got this all backwards, and I've taken my focus off of you, and it's hurting my family, and I've basically made my career my God. And so I knew something needed to change. So through prayer and repentance, right, got back on track with the Lord, and then me and my wife started praying for an opportunity for a shift to kind of get out of that. But at the same time, I saw what was happening, what was going on in our country, and I listened to all the big talk radio heads, right, and just all the time complaining, the guys out at the job and everything. But there was no action. There was nothing to do but vent and be upset about what was happening. And the Lord opened up a door for me to get involved with CCDF. He actually did it through my pastor and my wife. They work at a local coffee shop there called Coffee Waves. It's owned by Pastor David Bendet, who's a national board member of CCDF. And
a great guy.
And a great guy.
We're still waiting on his coffee here.
Yeah, he was very offended that we had Dunkin' Donuts coffee.
No, his coffee's amazing. So anyway, through that process, he comes out of a meeting one day, and he's my wife and my pastor sitting there working, and he swings by and he says, "Hey, we've got this new position opening up. We're looking for an executive director here in Nueces County to start CCDF in Texas. Do you guys know anybody?" And my wife's eyes got real big, and my pastor looks at her and he's like, "No, Sarah, you can't do it. You cannot have that job," because she's like executive administrator to him, And she's like, "No, Colby would be perfect." And he's like, "I didn't think about that."
So
that was the shift you were praying for.
Came into your church.
No, so I've known David for probably 12 years.
Okay.
In Corpus.
But I thought he was your pastor.
No. Pastor Glenn Holland's my passter.
Okay.
But he's part of the Moral Compass Group, which is the 12 pastors
Gotcha. Okay.
right?
Coalition.
The coalition there in Corpus Christi that hold our elected officials accountable within the biblical arena, right? And so my pastor's one of the 12.
Gotcha.
Right. And so David comes out, he explains this. My wife gets all excited. Mm-hmm. And so then I met John Durham, and then I met Keith Rose, and I had the interviews. And
John Durham is Steve Maxwell's
business partner, best friend,
co-founder.
And co-founder of CCDF.
Yep.
And from there, it was just like...
Steve says he's the founder.
He does say he's the founder.
Yeah. And me and my wife truly believed that God was calling us to this, right, for such a time as this. And really like you said, your kids, to us, that's what it's about, is we want to make sure that our children, our boys, get to grow up in the same America that we had the opportunity to grow up in.
Or better. Or
better, actually, right? You always want better for your kids. But, and so that's my story. And I've just, really trusted God with this every single day. And it's been an amazing journey. And I've just met some incredible people along the way. And I'm so excited for the future and where we're going and what we're doing. So that's kind of how I got here.
That's so cool. I love that you were praying for God to open the doors for a shift. And that came from humility and realizing that your current situation, you weren't prioritizing your life the way you should. And so you took those steps and said, God, I don't want to be this way. Help open another door. And he did. I just think that's awesome.
He gave you the shift you were praying for.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. And so much
He
purpose.
always does.
Yeah.
Right. And there's so much purpose in this, right?
So
Before
much
it was just like, collecting a big paycheck and trying to provide, but this is very much more fulfilling, more purpose driven, and no, I'm excited to be here and be part of this. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Similar to you guys.
Did you just skip over me?
He did.
Were we going around the
It
table?
was so rude.
Like my
I mean,
story's
I thought we were doing who got stood up first.
This is
a perfect segue.
Technically, you got stood
from
up
Colby.
before me.
this is typical Alex. He's just
teed
very
it up.
inconsiderate.
I'm trying to take your
He's excited.
glory here.
That's right.
Please,
No,
ladies
not my
first,
glory.
ladies first.
It's God's glory, but that's why I wanted to go next, because I think it's a good segue. Where Colby was looking for God to turn you back to Him, bring you back, give you purpose, give you meaning. I was living that. I had already, because I'm older than you are, had already had that turn back to God. And as an adoption attorney, I had been able to work for myself and incorporate God into every single aspect of my practice. I loved it. I mean, I get to talk to all my clients, all my birth parents about Jesus, how much God loves them, where He is with them, where they are with Him. I mean, it's just, just a natural part of what I do every day, which is awesome. But when I started paying attention to what was really going on, really several years ago, it really became for me not even so much for my children, my grandchildren, but, I mean, the whole world is at stake. Our whole country's at stake. The whole world is at stake. I mean, we know that this is bigger than just any one of the issues that we all took issue with. Yeah. So last June, I was at a big meeting and Steve Maxwell spoke, and I made a note, CCDF-USA, Steve Maxwell, Polk County. I need to call him. In August, I hadn't called him yet. I'd had summer. I'd been enjoying
Was that
life.
the Clay Clark in Tampa?
That was the Clay Clark in Tampa.
I was there.
And you were
But that
there?
was
Yeah,
the first
I was.
time you heard him?
It was.
I didn't know that.
It was, and I can still see where I wrote
thought
on the
it came
page.
from your friend. I'm sure you'll get to that
It
in a
did.
minute. But
It did.
That's so cool.
That's right. So fast forward from June to August, I think. He spoke again at Plant City, and yes, first a friend texted me from the Plant City meeting and said, "I'm at this meeting. You need to be here." And within minutes, one of my sisters texted and said, "I'm at this meeting. You need to be here." I figure, okay, they must be standing there talking to each other. I don't know what's up, but it's 7:00 at night, and I'm not going anywhere, and whatever. The next week, I found myself in Lutz at the Lutz meeting, and when I left there, I called my husband and said, in fact, Steve was not at that meeting, so I didn't meet Steve, but I met General McLean, and I met Kayla, and I called my husband on the way home and said, "These are my people. I've met my people." And he was pretty excited about that because for years I'd been watching, paying attention, reading, expressing concern about how bad things were and how things were not going the way they should. And he was glad I had an outlet and glad I'd met my people. Within 9 or 10 days, I met you and Hannah and Steve here at the warehouse. And every day between then, the first time I'd heard about CCDF, and the day I finally got here to the warehouse, I woke up saying, I need to get to the warehouse. I need to meet Steve and Hannah. I need to find out if this is real and if I can be a part of it. And by the time I got here, I felt like God had very clearly said that he had called me to be the executive director of Hillsborough County. But when I get here and I finally, in the middle of a meeting, they were off, Steve and Hannah were standing off to the side, so I went over and I said, hey, I'm Lee Carden from Hillsborough County. And Steve said, great. Wow, Hillsborough County, we have the whole thing all set
laid
up.
out
I'm
for
like, yeah, no, not laid out for me. I'm thinking, he says, we have the whole thing all set up. And I'm thinking, oh, I guess I heard wrong. I guess they don't need me. And he said, the only thing we're looking for, we're waiting for is an executive director.
The leader.
There you go.
Oh, that's when they
Another
started
guy.
having the big meeting, right? Or over there?
And
Okay.
and I'll never forget what you said.
That's right.
Go
And I
ahead.
said, I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think that's why I'm here. And Steve laughed and looked at Hannah and said, you're in the right place, because we say that to each other every day. We can't believe we're here. We can't believe we're doing this.
Yeah.
Because it's new. It's different. No one else in the country is doing this. And it's exciting, but it is in some ways surreal, because even that we have to do it, but that we're the ones doing it. But when God calls you, he equips you. And I think
Right.
we're all seeing that. We all know that for sure. And so I was leaving a practice that I loved, that I felt was completely God-centered and bringing people to know him better and know and love him better. And yet this is so much bigger, because it's not just my little world, which was really safe and easy. And
Right.
I had that one
you
nailed
had a
down,
structure
right?
down.
Sure.
You're providing for your family.
Could do it in my sleep.
And-
Well, now
Actually,
now
I
it's
was
a lot
running
more
my practice
entertaining.
as
you
a
were running your
ministry.
yeah.
I'm running
so-
my practice as a ministry. I'm not even trying to make money, and so I'm just concerned about doing the next right thing that God wants me to do. But that became very clear that was this, and so this is a whole new thing for me. But
Cool.
but
That's awesome.
remember, the verse that he gave me the night after the first meeting was I think for all of us. I woke up in the middle of the night at 2:30.
Oh, you told me this. Yeah, I wrote it down.
Oh my gosh. I mean, my head's spinning. What am I going to do? Can I even do this? Here are the next things I need to do, making lists. And I finally just was gripped with, oh, wait a minute. I don't need to do this. Wait a minute. Father God, maybe you had something you wanted to say to me? And he said, yeah, Psalm 37, 5 and 6. Commit everything you do to him. Commit everything you do to the Lord. Trust him and he'll help you. He'll make your innocence radiate like the dawn, and the justice of your cause will shine like the noonday sun.
There you go.
There we go. He's going to do it. We have a lot to do, but he's going to do it
That
for
is
us.
really cool.
Okay, Alex, I'll yield to
We'll
you
let
now.
you go now.
You may go.
All right. So similar to Hannah, I wasn't involved in politics, or as General McLean would say, governance.
Governance.
Yeah, we don't
That's
like that word politics around here, apparently. And
I didn't get that
Well, I
memo,
don't
so we
think
don't
it's
use
just
that
a-
word anymore.
I don't
I don't
know.
think it's
According
just
to
a
Jim,
word.
we don't.
I don't think it's just a word. I think they mean different things.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not running for office, but
No.
governing and making sure that those who do run for office are governing according to our will,
participating
the
in
people's will.
governance, yeah.
That's right, participating. There you go.
But I wasn't participating, not even monitoring or anything like that, and just living my life. I was a lighting consultant, which is kind of funny because now we're
Shining
we're
the light.
shining the light, right? So I'm a
Love
lighting
it.
professional in two ways, I guess. And similar to Hannah, I start seeing or experiencing local government overreach in my municipality in Miami-Dade, directly impacting me and my family, and coincidentally enough, with mask mandates, but not in the school, in our city.
In your city.
And similar to you, I'm to you, Hannah. I see injustice, and it just triggers a response where I need to provide a solution to that injustice, right? So I very quickly get engaged in terms of researching, is this legal? Are they allowed to do what they're doing here? And I just start diving deep into the Constitution for the first time in my life, really. I had just taken all that for granted up until that moment. And I do some fairly thorough research to the point where I feel comfortable enough engaging with the local government and going to the local council meetings and putting them on notice of what I believe are the various violations that they're committing with some of those unlawful mandates. And as many of you may experience and future counties may experience, it was like talking to a brick wall. There was not really a response, like similar to you, Hannah, when you went to the charter school board. And so I found myself, the only logical next step would be, I guess I have to pursue legal action, right? Because I'm not getting a response. I organically, without knowing CCDF and our approach, practiced Matthew 18, and there was no response to that. So I moved straight to, exploring legal action. But I quickly found out that I was limited as an individual to like pursue that route and be successful, financially, in terms of time, resources. So at that moment, I feel real stuck. And my instinct to, provide a solution when I see injustice has me, anxious and upset and everything like that. And then I always say, by the grace of God, I follow General Michael Flynn on Telegram. And right when I'm in that moment where I'm stuck, there's nowhere to go, I can't go anywhere with this, the general posts the website for CCDF. And he just posts his general tagline, local action is equals national impact. I click into the website and I just do a quick, review of what it is, what's the process, what are the values, and it's like a God thing. Like right away, I'm like, this is exactly what I need at this moment. And then I have kind of like a eureka moment where it's like, it's not exactly what I need only, even though my community doesn't know it yet, it's exactly what my community needs. And then, a colleague, a friend of mine that was engaging in the same process with me in my municipality, Nina Wallen, I gotta acknowledge her here, quickly calls CCDF and sets up a meeting with Steve and your brother, Seth. He was the first person we kind of interviewed with, and the rest was history. I just started driving up here, attending the meetings here in Polk County and just seeing how, Polk County goes about the approach and just, taking it all in. And I quickly engaged and got involved full time.
When was that, Alex? When you first?
That was around like April, May.
Yeah, it was right around
like right when you guys were getting started.
Yeah, we started very close.
I think I'm the first county that reached out to headquarters and said, hey, can we do this in our county?
He was.
Yeah.
You were.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I got started like September of last year. So September 1st is like really when I was boots on the ground.
Then
so
Lee, you
That's
were next.
that's right about the same time.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although remember, Hillsborough did it backwards, so
We all did it backwards. That's why we had to build the standard operating procedures and all of it. We had to build the business because all of us were flying the airplane and building it at the same time. So,
and it's funny that we're here at training with, I don't know how many prospective
like
AEDs we have here.
out there right now.
Yeah.
And now that plane it's still being built, but it's a lot more
a lot more complete than it was before. That's right.
And we all kind of had like a unique start. So some of the challenges you faced might have not been some of the ones I faced versus you and Hannah. Just being here at National and Polk County. With that, I kind of want to ask, what were some of those challenges you met early on? What were some of the things you think that you learned from, that you realized, okay, that's not going to work. Maybe we need to backtrack and rethink how we're approaching this.
I think one thing we all learned, everything. The thing I think about Hillsborough County we learned is because we're so close to Polk that there were those meetings, which is how I found out about. But we'd had 4 meetings before I met you all at the
like the informational meetings where they're introducing the
so
concept.
there were almost 400 people signed up, ready to go, with no leader and no structure. And it's a lot easier, I think, in retrospect. We've now all decided from a national perspective that we really need to put the leadership team in place before we
Build
put
the
so
fort
much information. Yeah,
before
build the
you-
fort before we
you go to battle.
Yeah, before we go to battle, before we call the troops out. So, so that was a challenge for me because people were ready to go. They wanted to do something. They heard about this great structure of CCDF, but in Hillsborough, we had to build it first. And so we've really just been doing that for a couple of months. But so just, helping people understand that and be realistic about their expectations for what we can do. And that was how I learned one of the best lessons is that we're really here to empower other people to be Americans, to be patriots. Right. And so I didn't have to have a structure in place to help them do to do for them what they could do for themselves.
Right.
So that was very empowering for me to be able to know that I was really, first and foremost, to empower other people, to encourage them to say, yes, that is a constitutional violation of your rights. And yes, you should stand up. And yes, you should do something. Hannah and I talked about that. Sometimes it's because I think all of us probably have the heart that there's injustice and we want to do something about it. And as a lawyer, that's what I'm equipped to do. People call, they have a problem. I try to resolve it. The best advice was to empower the person calling to
act like an American.
To act like an American. I love how Steve just tell them to act like an American. That's right. Because that's why we are America. Because people stood up and said, no, we won't do that. That's wrong. Here's what we're going to do.
Yeah,
and it
really,
just takes courage.
And really, until it's really difficult to start to help people, like we were talking about, if all the pieces aren't there, right?
Is.
So then what happens is you start saying yes to everything, and then you can't. It's hard. It's hard.
Overpromise and underdeliver.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so no, that's huge, and I think that's where I am right now. Still kind of putting those last little bit of pieces together. But yeah, it is difficult when you have citizens coming to you and they've got real issues.
But the AEDs coming on from this point forward, it's so awesome because they're not going to have to go through those growing pains. They're essentially going to get to walk into a model
lessons learned from our
that's built. Yeah,
right.
for us it
Experience.
was lots and lots of flexibility. That was the difficulty with our staff here because we're running Polk, but we're also building national. And there's times we would write something into national policy that then we go and find out that doesn't work in practice. So now we've got to backtrack and change that policy or that and communicate that to the rest of the team and constantly kind of shifting between national and Polk and building this and then trying it and then seeing what works. It was just lots of communication and lots of flexibility. I would tell everyone if we can't be flexible, we can't do this job because things change so much. But hopefully now we've created this package wrapped up in a bow. There's still going to be
the template
curves. There's still going to be things that happen, but hopefully those apologies will be a little less frequent now with new AEDs. So,
Well, that's the nature of building any business.
True.
So I love the fact that National is so responsive and that we all work together and are happy to share those wins and losses, the
Best
mistakes and the
practices,
best practices. And that's how we're learning. That's why we're able to do what we're doing. That's why we are able to have, 40, 50 people out there, 60 people, I think total 70, but anyway, today.
yeah.
Right.
And grow exponentially. Because
Yeah, so going off of what you guys were saying in Miami-Dade, some of the challenges that I experienced because we were the first county that kind of started standing up after Polk was we kind of started doing it, the cart before the wheel type of thing. And we had
cart before the horse.
cart before the horse.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
my
the
South
foreigner in
American,
him.
sorry.
But I guess if you put a cart before a wheel, you could have problems.
It won't
there,
go
too.
anywhere.
Is that the Puerto Rican in you?
Colombian, Hannah, for the
always
third time. but no, the cart before the horse type of thing. And what I saw with that was we had a lot of people that reacted the same way as I did, and I'm sure I see the same way as you did. And when you hear the CCDF message and the concept, you're ready to go. You know that's what you want, that's what you need. But since we didn't have that fort, built correctly first, we tried to go, operational and engage and it caused some delays. It caused some speed bumps along the way.
A little bit of frustration too, right?
Yeah. And then the other issue was the conveying the message correctly, right? So that there was a misconception by the citizens in Miami-Dade, at least some, that we were there as like the savior. We were going to do the work for them, and it goes back to that, learning along the way that we're there to empower and equip them to act like an American.
You know what's funny? I had a guy citizen come to me, and he comes in with his issue. I won't get into it. And we're working through it right now, but he's like, man, you're the expert, man. You got to help me. And I'm like, whoa, brother, I'm just like you. Like, I'm not an expert, but we'll work on this together.
Yeah.
I'm going to help you, but don't.
Yeah.
I just got into
over
this.
to me to do it for you. Yeah.
Well, no, it's funny. They hear the message, and it's so powerful, and they think that you're an expert.
Yeah.
They think that you know everything, that you know how to handle the legal side. You know how to handle, you're an expert on the concept, and I get it, but we're all learning. Yeah. It's just, I'm here with you. I'm here to support you and take a stand, but I'm just like you. I've only been doing this for 6 months, but the message is so powerful and what we're doing, and people are so hungry and they're looking for that help that they're coming to us,
But the solution at the end is them. And that's the message we need to convey to them.
Yep.
But that isn't to say that we aren't very busy. I mean, we have Hillsborough and Polk. We have employees we have hired. They are working full time. We're working up to full time, but they're not being paid full time yet in Hillsborough, but they're working full time on this.
Oh, yeah.
And that means they don't sleep and they don't have a whole lot of recreational time, but people are very busy working, and
it's true.
Who are just as much called as we are and are committed to setting things right. Yeah. Shining the light on the darkness.
I just want to tell you guys that I'm super proud to be going into the fire with the three of you. I think it's awesome. God chose us to be the frontliners in this, and really proud to link arms with all three of you guys.
Me too.
Consider you all my family. So
yeah. Absolutely.
Feelings mutual.
So I think we're kind of up on our time here. So, I think what I'll close with myself is, there's been a connection to how God got you guys involved, and the shift that God provided you, Colby, and you were praying to God for how to engage in it. And what I'll leave off with is that, I got into this because of the governance or the government overreach component of it, and the God aspect of it wasn't there yet. And my engagement with CCDF is what has brought God back into my life, right? Wow. And that's one of the biggest takeaways from this whole experience, that I know now that was part of His plan. He didn't bring me into this solely for the government oversight and the injustice solution aspect of it. He brought me into this to bring me back to Him. So I'm very grateful for that as well.
That's awesome.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. I'm not crying, you're crying. God bless you guys. Let's get to work.
Yep.
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right.